So I just got myself a Electrified Maniac from 2014 Spirit Halloween, and I bought it knowing it has a flaw, and I'm going to show you that flaw right now. The actual box works, which is nice.
Warning. Stand back. Maximum voltage will be initiated.
Triggered it as. And now I guess some of you would be like, that's okay, the box makes some noise, so well, if he doesn't work, big deal. But not for me. You know, this is a problem and I want to fix it. And I'm going to show you how I fix it in today's video. Alright, so I'm down here right now, and upon further inspection, it seems like the speaker is actually producing a very faint amount of sound. If you hold your ear up close to it, you can hear it. For the instance of this video, I'm going to unplug the motor because the motor is so loud, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so let me hold that up for you. So that is a good sign, actually. I think that means that the speaker is okay. I think the main problem that we're going to be looking at today is relating to the circuit board itself, and more specifically, that little transistor that is used as an amplifier to the circuit board. So I am going to take the circuit board out of all these plugs. This one is convenient for the fact that the circuit board doesn't have wires directly soldered, it's all just plugged in, and that makes it easy for me because I can unplug the circuit board and just work on it without anything plugged in. And I think that's what I'm going to do. The most important part of when doing this is just to make sure to know where all the wires go and to not pull the plug by the wire. That's how wires get pulled out of the plug, and then you have annoying problems that you have to fix. Alright, so the circuit board is off right now. I have my camera looking over a like a magnifying glass, so we can really get up close and see everything here. So this is Electrified Maniac circuit board. Wow, that's so crazy. There is his IC, that's the main control module that controls everything on him. This part is not replaceable, unfortunately. So if this part goes bad, that is kind of the end of your animatronic, basically. So you don't want to let this get wet or pulse too much voltage through it, because that could potentially be a problem as well. And like my bite-sized clown, it just goes bad for no reason. So that's something that I am quite concerned about in recent times, that these just go bad for no reason. I have another circuit board, the same one from, this was Dr. Cocter's old Electrified Maniac. I was trying to work on this one. It had the same problem of no sound, but fortunately for me, this one didn't have any sound at all. You couldn't hear anything coming from the speaker. It was really at a loss, and I was really just kind of messing around at this point here, and yeah, I just was unsuccessful with it. I don't know if an IC, that's what the black rectangle is, I don't know if part of it can go bad and then part of it can be fine. I don't know if that's how it works. From what I read online, it's if it goes bad, nothing works. So I don't know, but on this board I replaced these two capacitors right here with a bigger capacitor that was able to just higher voltage rating, so it should be fine. And then I replaced the transistor over here. This is the one, that's the speaker amplifier, an M28S. Something that is interesting here is this is the replacement one that I have, but the originals are, oh, look at that. So that's pretty funny right here and right now. This one originally was a different rating. It was a ADL, I think, ADL M28S, which I thought was interesting, but I tested it on my multimeter and they were giving the same readings basically. So I replaced it with this one thing and it would work, but I was expecting it to be the same on this one with an ADLS or whatever it was, and it's not. It's actually the one that I replaced before, so that gives me more confidence that they are the same. So this is the transistor that we are probably going to be replacing today, this half moon. I think they're called BJT transistors. Looking at it again, these capacitors, I'm not too sure exactly what these two green capacitors are for. I think they're meant to like smooth out frequencies. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. This part right here is a transistor. This is the motor driver. If you look at the traces, this is where that transistor goes, and you look at this light blue trace, it goes to right here, and this is the output for the motor. This is where the motor wires plug into. And then if we look at that BJT transistor right there, that's this trace, and we can look at how it traces out. Right here is where the potentiometer goes. This is volume control right here, these two leads. Potentiometer, I'm pretty sure, just changes the resistance. So it's basically like a adjustable resistor, and that's what changes the volume. And then that goes back to the transistor, and the transistor, I'm not really sure how exactly this amplifies the sound, but it does. And then that output goes to right here, which is the speaker plug. So presumably, I'm assuming this is the bad component right here. We could probably test it with the multimeter and just see what we're getting, but let's do that first. Alright, so we're going to move that right there. I'm going to bring up my multimeter, change it to resistance. It's already in resistance mode. But a quick way to test to see how a transistor is working is to just put like one of the leads on one side and test over here, so I get a reading of nothing. That's good. That's good. You shouldn't get like a dead short. That is from what I'm assuming, is an easy way to know if this is bad. And then we'll just go again over here. Should be getting a reading. What's going on? Put it in. Alright, let's try that now. We got 2.68 million ohms. I don't know, we're getting a reading. Don't have a reading here though. So this is already a little finicky, I think. Because you should be getting a reading. You got a reading on this side. Let's try again backwards. Again, I am no expert in this stuff. I've kind of taught myself in a way. Had a friend who does similar stuff. But yeah, so that transistor is the one in question. So fortunately, I have a transistor that is of the same M28SD331 from a previous project. So let's first, I think at this point we're going to desolder this part, because even though you're getting odd readings, that could be meanings from it being in a board and that there's other things going on. Sometimes it's better just to isolate this on its own, the transistor, just to take it off. So I will show you how I do that. So this is called a solder sucker. This is what I use first to clean off old solder that we don't want anymore. You could also use this stuff called solder wick, which is just like brass, I think. And you heat this up on the tape and it will basically like absorb the solder. Sometimes I use some flux. I'll paint some of this flux on here to make it easier or quicker. But for the big globs, usually I will just take the solder sucker and do that first. So this is my soldering iron. You want to clean off your iron. I'm just using the cleaner. I don't even know what that's called. It's like, again, like a brass, just brass shavings. You could also clean the sponge, dampen the sponge. That works too. But here we go. We're going to clean off those solder joints to try and pull off that solder or that transistor. So let's just do this right here. Boom. Let's see if we can get you a little closer in here. There we go. So all you do is just take your soldering tip, bring it real close to it, wait for it liquid, pop it off. It cleans okay. Let's try it one more time. Boom. Okay, let's see if that will free our transistor. So that didn't quite get off all the solder. So now I'm going to take my soldering wick here, and I'm going to paint some flux on it. I think it somehow makes it easier for it to adhere to the wick. But now for this part, we're just going to take our iron once again and just try to heat up this area, and hopefully it will just take all of that solder with it in the wick. Go on this side. Okay. That looks pretty clean actually on the screen here. So now we should be able to pull this off. See? There it goes. We replaced the transistor now. So let's test it first. Let's see if there's a difference between the old one and the new one. Okay, so I'm going to take the red lead here. These transistors, they can be NPN or PNP. Negative, positive, negative, or positive, negative, positive. Not too sure exactly how that all works. Not necessarily do I care for a simple repair. This is relatively simple, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. We're just going to see if it's anything sticks out. So I'm going to place the red lead on this side, the other lead on this side, and get a reading of like 5.79. Go here, 5.79, 5.8. Okay. If we swap them around, now we have the black lead here, and we get no reading and no reading. So that's good. That's the new one. It should be good. Let's see what's going on with this one. Maybe it will give me a odd reading. Maybe it won't. Let's find out. So opened. Ooh, interesting. Is that my fault? No. So look at that. So right off the bat, where it should be giving me no reading, it's giving me something. So that right there, I think, gives a good precedence that something is wrong with the original transistor. Let's just go back to this side. So they're on the same side. So if we go here, I don't get anything. It's all opened. Yeah, no flow. Now if we go over here, got a reading. So I think that basically tells us that that is bad. So now let's move on to putting in the new transistor back into the circuit board. So flipping it over, in case you didn't take a picture or something, the picture on the board kind of tells you how it's supposed to go back in. You can see right here, it's basically this is like a half moon, and that's a half moon on the diagram. So we'll just pop that back in, and then we'll flip it over, and we will solder some solder there. So there are our leads for the new transistor. I like to push it down all the way. It was like this, I think, originally, so we'll do that again. So like that, and I'll just bend these back this way. It should work. Maybe we can go the other way, maybe, on the one. So now it isn't going to go anywhere, and you can easily just work on it now. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in for us. What I like to do first with something like this is I will apply some flux to the soldering pads. Just a little bit, I think, goes a long way. It's good enough. And I got some new solder right here, and we are going to solder on the new transistor. Make sure your solder tip is always clean before doing basically anything. Clean it often, and let's do it. So you want to make sure it gets hot, and then you'll just dab a little bit onto here. like that. That's good. The other one, it's good. And the final one, it's good. So there you go, nice and clean. Make sure none of the joints are crossing each other, and we should be able to test it now. Hopefully we have success here. I'm really hoping I do. Oh, and always make sure to like cut off those leads. You don't want those just pointing everywhere with a potential risk of shorting them out or something like puncturing a wire. So just cut them off, make them clean, nice and flat like that. All right, so I plugged it back together. Again, this should be a very simple repair. I'm really expecting it to be working at this point, but you never know. So let's plug it in and see what goes on here. Boom! That's a win. Potentiometer works. Turn it down, up. There we go. That's a success. Success. All right, here we are. He is all set up. He's got his outbreaker box. I don't even know what it's called. On the box, it's called Electrified box, but I think it's called something else. But let's see if he works. Here we go. Moment of truth. There we go. Yeah, he's got sound. And that goes on a little more. So that's a success. We've had success here. One thing I want to note is once I replaced the transistor, ironically the speaker then blew out. He was working for like a couple activations and then he went quiet again, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I actually replaced the transistor a second time because I didn't know if maybe the transistor was just bad right out of the box. But it wasn't, it was actually the speaker. So I was able to use the donor speaker from the other module that I had, and that worked fine. And I also bought some potentiometers, volume control knobs, just in case it was that, but it turned out it wasn't. But now I got extras, so down the road if we have problems, we should be able to fix that. And then there was another couple of things that had to go be worked on with him. I guess once you put him together, he's put together forever, because on the box or whatever, it makes it sound like you, with the telescoping poles, you can collapse it and just put it away like assembled, like up to here or something, which is not a bad idea, because I was trying to like take apart the poles and they just wouldn't come apart. It looked like I had to use a special tool or something. So I don't know, some of the plastic tabs that like click into place have broken off over the years, so I'm probably gonna just end up like putting some zip screws in it and just keeping this bottom part together like forever, and then just having to assemble like the top half of him. But if it fits in the box like that, it's probably fine. And then another thing was I had a problem with his neck. It kept popping off here, and the problem with that was that this screw was missing. You can see that screw with the washer on it, so the head was just making its way out of the spring. So I put that back in, and now he's working like he was new. So in the end, we had some success with bringing the sound back to life on this guy. I'm super happy to have been successful with that, and I hope this video helped you on your journeys of hopefully getting sound back on animatronics, because it's a common occurrence. It's happened to me quite a few times. Sometimes it's happened to me right in front of my eyes, that the speaker's loud and then it gets soft and then it's loud again and then eventually it just dies off. And it was, in the end, that little amplifying transistor. If you have the tools to be able to accomplish this, it's not that difficult. Hopefully this video showed you the process that I take. I think a usual sign to know that it is probably the transistor is that what I showed you at the beginning of the video. If you put your ear close to the speaker, you can hear a very faint audio playing. And that's usually meaning that the amplifier isn't amplifying the sound, thus it's very quiet. But yeah, I will be doing an unboxing video on this animatronic, but I just thought I'd show you how I got this animatronic up to 100% working condition first. So that's all for me. I want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.